call the meeting to order of Sioux Falls School District. Kashana is gone. She is sick this evening. And Daniel, we haven't heard from, other than he said he was going to be here. So hopefully he'll just be late or something. And now we'll have the flag salute.
Figure out what a flag
There,
right in front of us.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now we will move into executive session under ORS 192.660, parentheses 2, parentheses I, to review and evaluate the performance of the chief executive officer or any other police officer, employee, or staff member unless the person whose performance is being reviewed and evaluated requests an open hearing. Okay, we'll return to open session now. And first item of business is agenda review, so I entertain a motion on the agenda.
Move for approval?
I'll second.
It's been moved and second to approve the agenda as presented. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion on the consent agenda, please.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Been moved and second to adopt the consent agenda as presented. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Ayes have it unanimously. Okay, so now and we don't have student representatives tonight, that is correct? Okay, correct. So we don't have that. And so then, school principal report. Our host, Mr. Davidson, you're up. Is he in? He's not in here.
He was in the hallway. I saw him. He's in his office.
Every other principal's in here.
He's in his office.
He's put just across the hall. I told him maybe we did it faster than it is pretty fast. I told him 15 minutes. So. So
They want ammunition to use.
Okay, Jay. Welcome, Brett.
We have regular counseling sessions, and so we were having one of those. Okay, well, thanks for coming to my school that I'm late to the meeting to. I don't know. So my name is Brett Davidson. I'm the principal at Silverton Middle School. This is my 9th year here, and I just want to give you a brief rundown of our school and things going on this year. I know there's a lot on the agenda, so I want to try to keep it brief. I have some demographic information. I think, it's coming around. Demographic information on my sheet. I always like to just put enrollment for each year that Silverton Middle School has existed, just to give an idea of kind of the ebbs and flows of our building. You can see on that 2019-20, the year of COVID, we peaked at 497. For a few weeks, I think 3 or 4 weeks, we were over 500. As you can see, these numbers are a little deceptive because we really do ebb and flow a lot during the year, quite a bit. Our population in town is just a little more transitory than maybe some other places. And the one thing that's hard to plan for each year is we get, every year I've been here after, I think it was every year, we have about a 20 to 40 and sometimes a little bit more of a bump in August and September for enrollment. So we go through the spring, we budget, we plan, we get staffing set, and then come August and the buses start practicing their routes, people just show up. And I try to keep the transfer thing low and kind of under control for as long as I can, just getting ready for that bump, which is hard for those families because they want to plan through the summer and all of that. But I'm just always fearful of that bump because we get it every single time. That 2023-24 year, right underneath the blue one where we had 442, we had forecasted to have 395 kids that year. and had the master schedule set, had everybody good to go, and then we end at 442. And of course, you hope that they all come in evenly between the grades and everything, but it's like all 8th grade or all 7th grade, and then we have to change things after the school year starts, which is pretty disruptive, especially for staff. Same thing happened last year, same thing happened this year. We were supposed to be around 430, 435, and right now we're sitting at 461. We've been in the 470s for a little bit, a couple months ago. And so we just kind of adapt and deal with it. And as you guys know from school funding, it takes a year for the money to follow the kids. And so this is one of those years where more kids came, we're post-RIF, and so the class sizes start to go up and it's harder to juggle. But we just hold on and we'll see. Hopefully we'll get, a little relief next year. I have some demographic information there that you can reference, but the one thing I always like to point out, and mainly just to do some shout outs to staff, is we have about 20% of our kids that receive special ed services in one way or another. That can look very different across the spectrum. We have 3 out of the 4 kind of special ed programs that we offer in our district in our building. One is the basic skills classroom. Darren Goff took over for Brian Saturn this year, is doing a great job with his staff. Frank Gauntz does our SLP, our structured learning program, a little more geared towards behavior. Him and his staff do a great job. And then we have 2 LRC classrooms with Sheldon Lazier and Dan Gorgas and some aides in there as well. And then lots of specialists that come in and out, autism, speech path, and all those guys that support us and give us advice on how to best approach some of our kids. And then the functional skills program we don't have here right now. We have had it before, but it just depends on kind of where most of them are landing in the grades. And so the program is at the high school, and those kids come down and for some periods and at lunch and some things like that. So I just always want to shout out our SPED staff because it's so much work, but it's such needed work just to give the kids exactly what they need to improve. I have some STAR data there that's just now from the winter of this school year. Those percents are students at or above benchmark. And then for each one of those, just depending on the grade level and the subject, there's between 9 to 22% are on watch, which is just below. And that's the hard part about that with post-RIF for us is a lot of my ability to do interventions have gone away. And those interventions are really key with those on-watch kids because they're, you don't want to call them bubble kids, but I don't know. But that's what we say. They're on the bubble, and they just need a little bit more. And that's been a struggle to figure out how to give them everything they need to get them up to grade level. But that's where we're at. So after that, I feel like I say this out loud a lot, like, how we doing? When I'm talking to staff or anybody. And so I just kind of approach this report in the same way, kind of how are we doing this year? I have 2 things listed on there. One is the bond and the other is the budget crisis. I'm not really going to talk about the budget crisis because you guys either were a part of watching that process happen on the inside or outside, and you know what happened and you know where we are now. And so I do want to give a shout out to Kim and the district staff and the principals and the buildings for getting us back in the right spot. So I don't want to belabor the points that you guys already know already. And I think we could start to move that into a positive one as we go forward. And I hate the B word, I hate the bond, but I'm going to say it again because we're sitting in a building where the bond was very personal for me and the staff, in that it was a central point of that bond measure. And not to just necessarily focus on that bond measure, but just to give some perspective, Silverton Middle School has now been in the old high school for 10 years. So our move from Mark Twain to here is 10 years old, meaning that the 8th graders that are here right now weren't even in kindergarten yet when they moved here. And the 6th graders were 3 years old, 4 years old. I don't think there's any of us or anybody in town or anybody in the district who would have thought when they're playing with their 3-year-old, oh, when my kid gets to 6th grade, they're still going to be in this building. And I only say that for perspective, because as we talk and we sit in committees and we try to come up with ideas and we throw things out there and we argue and we disagree, that's how long this has been happening. And then for those of us who've been around a long time, we're in year 50 of these conversations. But for us in particular, in what seemed to be something that wasn't going to last very long, that's how long we've been here. So I look forward. I've been in the Long Range Facilities Committee. Feels like deja vu, but I'm optimistic and excited to dive into that again, because not just for the middle school. I've always been a proponent of our whole district, but like we need to figure some things out for our whole district, but especially here. So I got to say that on behalf of my staff. So positive things. We, even though we're thinner than we were a couple years ago, we're making it work, and we're getting back in our groove of doing awesome things. We do homecoming week right along with the high school, have a ton of fun with dress-up days and the parade and the football game. We have 3 dances a year that we host here. I think we had 400 middle schoolers at the last dance for the winter one, which is way too many. My second favorite day, well, I don't know, it's a toss-up. I think it might be my favorite day, or it's at least a tie with another one, is our Veterans Day Assembly. We do it every year. It's awesome. And it's always a scary thing as a middle school principal, because all I can think about is how are the kids going to act in this assembly, especially with the veterans. And we try to coach them up for a long time beforehand, but it's so cool to bring in all the veterans in the community and honor them. And my favorite thing is we line them all up and we make all the middle school kids shake all of their hands on the way out. It's just a really neat event and really cool to see. We're back in outdoor school. We were a little worried about the funding on that, but we were able to send our whole 6th grade to outdoor school again. And then for us, we had to get really creative with our electives because of less staff, but we still have art, band, choir, drama, speech and debate, robotics, team sports, greenhouse, sign language, guitar. Sheldon Lazier started a How It Works program, so people keep dropping off broken things in my office. I took down a broken printer to him, so we take it down there, the kids break things apart, they put it back together. He's got kids going out to each classroom with clipboards and assessing the technology and safety. And so, I mean, people are just coming up with cool stuff for our middle school kids to do, which is really neat to see. However, it is a stress on our staff in the sense that if I go to a social studies teacher who teaches 7th grade social studies, we have 7 periods, she teaches 6 periods, I have to ask people to say, okay, are you willing for your 5 classes to be a little bit bigger so you can teach this elective? So we're kind of having to do that wiggle room, and we don't want it to get too big, but we have to offer those electives and we want to. So that's the game we're kind of playing all the time. And then I always have to give a shout out to Jackie Renaud. She's the hub of the culture of our school with all these events, and she does a great job with the leadership kids here. It's a great funnel to the leadership stuff at the high school, and she does such a great job. And the last thing I'll say, and this is the one that is tied for me in my mind for my favorite day of the year, is a few years ago, we started the Unified program. And then we thought, how do we get away from all these Valentine's Day parties? Because they're so disruptive. And Mary Hayden and I thought, why don't we have a unified game on Valentine's Day and do none of the parties and just have all the kids come into the gym and have a game that's packed. And we always do it against French Prairie. And so they come over and we have a unified game during school. Again, another thing as a principal I'm worried about, and with this one it's not so much are they going to be disruptive, it's more of are they going to treat some of our special ed kids with respect, and are they going to honor them and all that. And they blow me away every year. And so this is a 37-second clip of my boy Grayson Bush hitting a shot here, and I just want you to see not just his reaction, the kids' reaction, but the crowd. So this is all our middle school kids and we invite parents to come of our unified game, and it's like this every single year. So I just want to end it on a positive note. Those of you guys who have been to a basketball game before and you know when a crowd is loud, the middle school kids they're very loud. They're very loud. And so every year, they even remember, they're cheering for French Prairie players that come. They remember them and they go around and give them high fives. They're cheering for everybody. It's just an awesome day, and just one of the more positive things that we do at the middle school. So that's all I got. Any questions about that?
I want to comment that, you know, those two things that you're about favorite days, those do so much for growth in our middle school students. And that is, I applaud you and your staff for doing that, because that is just great. That since I was forever in a middle school, I know kind of what it takes and what it's like, and that's the thing that makes middle school, and those kids remember that. So that's great.
It's fun. All right.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Thank you, sir. We won't surprise you next time on the agenda.
Have to go right for it initially.
Okay. Silver Falls Education Association. Your time.
You guys can probably talk from right there. Or you gotta have the mic though.
Okay, just to lean forward. Gather around.
Getting cozy. So every other month at the district office, representatives from each of our schools meet with the district leadership, and we call it forum. So at our January forum, it was suggested that the board hear directly more from educators themselves and what their day-to-day life is like in their specific schools. So we thought that we would try that tonight. My hope is that it will allow the school board members to hear directly while raising awareness. Sorry, I'm sick with the germs. And raise awareness of building conditions and our student learning conditions for the general public as well. So tonight we have Carrie Brown from Robert Frost, who's going to share what her and her colleagues' year has looked like.
Okay, this really is the hot seat. Get a little warm in here. So just a quick thank you to Mr. Davison. I had 2 kids go through here, and the staff does a great job making everything so cozy and wonderful. So I'm Carrie Brown, a 2nd grade teacher at Robert Frost. I have been teaching for 27 years now. I know it's shocking because I look incredibly young. I spent 21 years in Salem Kaiser and the last 6 in Silver Falls. I'm experienced in grades 2nd through 5th. Just a quick little tidbit there. Teaching has evolved and changed dramatically over the last 27 years. We are now more focused on research-based practices and really emphasize the importance of literacy, which is important. In 2nd grade, we are implementing UFly, targeting specific foundational skills students are lacking, and meeting our fictional and informational standards. This means I consistently monitor students and adjust small groups while learning a new program. It is going well in 2nd grade. We have seen our students grow, with 70% of our students meeting benchmark or above as of our winter DIBELS data. While this work and learning is important to do, this takes a lot of time outside of my contract hours to juggle. I'm not the only teacher in this boat. Many of our staff either arrive before our contract hours or they stay later than our contract hours. This is the only time during the day when we can sit and actually assess where we are with our students. 30 minutes before and after school is not adequate time to collaborate with our team, which is why we appreciate adding in those early releases. So thank you. In addition to learning new curriculum, teachers are faced with the challenge of students arriving with higher academic and emotional needs. Currently, teachers are expected to teach social emotional skills. This is one more thing added to our already overflowing plates. It's an important skill to teach, but it does take time away from academics. Robert Frost has an amazing staff and administrator who are committed to looking at what is best for our students. We spend the first 15 minutes of every day teaching SEL to our class. Additionally, some of our staff run social skills groups, where small groups of students get pulled to receive additional SEL instruction based on student needs. There has been an increase in students who need more individualized support to help them be successful all day long. This limits when teachers can utilize instructional assistants for academic support. In all grades, we have several students who cannot emotionally handle working independently or in a small group. If these students are not getting immediate assistance or feedback, they become disruptive. At Robert Frost, we have seen an increase in students who are so dysregulated, we have had to utilize room clears, which means we need to get all of the students out of the room so they don't get hurt by their classmates. This is an upsetting situation for both staff and students. In the past, I have broken down at the end of the day after this has happened. I have also had to replace items that students have broken with my own money because of their behavior. I know Kim and her staff have been having conversations with kindergarten teachers on how we can communicate to incoming families on how they can help their children prepare for kindergarten. But I would encourage you as a board to think of how can we reach the community when these kids are 2, 3, or 4 years old, so they are ready when they reach kindergarten. Every day, I have the great privilege of seeing my colleagues working hard, loving on students, supporting each other, and striving to do better each day. I'm a proud mama when it comes to my Robert Frost staff. What I don't get to see is the hard work they also put in at home with their families. Each day we go home tired and still thinking about our students and what we should have done or could have done better as we are trying to be present with our own families. I don't think the public realizes how heavy our hearts can feel at times, and on the flip side, how much it can lift us when we see our students succeed. We wouldn't be here if we didn't care about our students and their education, but please recognize this is a difficult profession, and it keeps getting more challenging as the years go by. I dream about school almost every night.
Me too.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Good job, Gary.
Public comment. Do we have anyone here for public comment? Do we have anyone online for public comment? Daniel?
No.
Oh, okay.
I think we need one more chair. There's a gentleman that's having to stand back there. We have an extra
There's one chair
Oh,
back
we've got one
here.
right here. Or there's one next to Elise. So we can
Oh, they already stole. I'll give that to Kevin.
A standing room only. That's pretty impressive.
Okay, administrator and staff reports, and first up is Kim with the superintendent report. And you've got safety, it looks like.
Yeah. I think there we go. See if I can get the clicker to work. Okay. So I'm going to talk about some of the safety initiatives and different things we've been doing in the district. And I touched on this lightly when I talked to you last time about some of the goals and different things we've been working on. But I just wanted to hit this in public so that people could see some of the work that's gone on in the district. Daniel, this clicker doesn't love me. Okay, there we go. Oh, I used that bad blue color. Sorry about that. So this areas for growth. So when I started in the district, we looked at systems, standard response protocol, professional development, and our school sites to see where we thought safety could use enhancement. And so for the systems part of it, We crafted a new emergency operations protocol, so that's a 34-page document that you guys have seen. We also did a reunification document and a lot of work on disaster preparedness. We reinforced our standard response protocol. So we use the I Love You Guys Foundation, which is what a lot of schools in Oregon use. And so we retrained our administrators on that because I Love You Guys is different from an administrative perspective than it is from a teacher perspective. And so we had some newer administrators in the district. They're not all new to education or to administration, but new to us. So we wanted to make sure that they were able to pass that information on to their staff. It's really, when you're talking about safety things, drills and practice, that's all really, really important. So we had Gene Biggs retrain all the administrators in the district. Professional development, just providing opportunities to grow and talk about safety and security. We reinstated the district level safety committee as directed by SAFE. So SAFE, gives you parameters, and they're like, how's your district team? And we're like, well, it could meet more often. So it does. When we get feedback from people that is important, we try to do those things. And then using data to drive decision making and district improvement. So looking at our school sites and what they need to be as safe as possible for students and staff. So we looked at some different things. So there's just been a lot of stuff in the district that we've done over the past year and a half. So we held a district safety seminar in October of 2025 to kind of go over some of these different parameters with parents. We've done safety assessments. Those were completed by our partners. So Willamette Education Service District, we cooperate with Gene Biggs there. He's been really helpful. He's come to KJ's building and worked with her on different things. So he's just a really great partner and really helpful. Oregon Department of Education, Mitch Sechler and Sarah Coley, they did a full examination of all buildings in the district for safety and security and provided a report for us, which was really helpful. We've been partnering with BRIC in the long range facilities work, which has been really instrumental. BRIC did an education adequacy assessment, which is what is primarily focused on, our education systems and schools. Is it equitable for students? So like looking at equity and how the student experience is and how our buildings are, and then whether or not those are good from a safety and security standpoint. And then we also will be doing an OSHA consultation later in the spring because OSHA will actually come out to your buildings for free, and they will recommend improvements or repairs or things that will enhance employee safety. And it's not a punitive thing. So they come out and they do preventative safety analysis, which is really great. And so our partners in the work, so I talked about those first two there, ODE and Willamette ESD, but Silverton Police Department, so Officer Al Jetz is our SRO, and then I do a lot of work with Chief Engstrom, and then Silverton Police Department in general, and then the Silverton Fire Department, Bill Niles, we collaborate with him. Marion County EMAC, so Greg Walsh is the director there, and he's really great. Greg holds seminars and different things for us to talk about emergency things in Marion County. And then Sherry Lovery is KJ could talk about Sherry, how great she is. Sherry is a crisis management consultant, and after the swatting event in April last year, Sherry was really instrumental in crafting or helping KJ and I craft the plan for when teachers and kids came back into that building, because the population was pretty traumatized by having to evacuate that building. Yeah, Emily's nodding because she was in there. Then how our response was with our community. So, we held a meeting right after that with our community, and we walked through what happened and took feedback and listened to kids. And, we learned a lot during that process. And so she's been a really great partner, and I still talk to her all the time. So we're always sharing information back and forth. And then I mentioned OSHA already, but Matt Duran was SAFE. He also has been helping us in the district with, enhancing our safety meetings and making sure that our safety committees, are doing not just a meeting, but an effective meeting that goes over what you need to as a safety team. And then he also is doing an accident analysis class with administrators. Is it in April, Elise?
May.
May, okay. We're running out of year, right?
April and May, yeah.
Yeah, so he's coming back in. And so just really leveraging and utilizing all of our partners is really important because they are experts in the areas that maybe we're not. Like an example would be when we have the swatting event, Salem Kaiser has a really amazing safety team, and we reached out to them and they helped us analyze the situation. I spent hours with them on the phone and in meetings, and just really reaching out. When you have a good network like that, it's really important. It helps you do things better, and it gives you more ideas about what best practices. So I should have listed them too, but I didn't. What we found, gosh, this slide is hard to read. It was so great in mine. What we found was that we needed to add, I'm going to go to my own slide, a comprehensive cloud-based camera system district-wide. These are some of the things that were highlighted in Brick's report. They were highlighted in ODE's report. And so we have them from multiple sources, and Willamette SD as well. So Gene Biggs has looked at some of our stuff. Improved lighting on the exterior of our buildings. Secure vestibules in the district. Even our best building, which is the high school, does not have a secure vestibule, which is unfortunate. Window coverings that need to be added. Controlled access needs to be enhanced for the district. And then our fencing was commented as generally in good condition, and in most places was adequate. Communication challenges. So, we have older buildings in the district. Some of them, the PAs don't work well. Oh, Daniel. I tell you.
Good job, Daniel.
I am bringing the hot cocoa for you tomorrow. That's what it takes.
My eyes are like,
Yeah. Oh, thanks, buddy. That was awesome. So the PAs and the phone systems don't work well in some of our buildings. I mean, I'm sure, and that's hard to hear, right? Like the phone system doesn't work in one of our buildings. Generators, they noted that we should add generators to some of our really rural sites, so Victor Point, Silvercrest, maybe even Scotts Mills, because like when Silvercrest loses power, they also lose their phone connection, and they have a satellite phone. But what happens is when the power goes out up there, Therese doesn't have the ability to send out an emergency communication to parents by Parent Square as well, so she oftentimes uses the district office. So these are just some really interesting things that I've learned about our district that we need to try and work on in the next 5 years. We've also provided new district cell phones for our administrators, and we created a communications guide for administrators to use during an emergency, which is like a template that has all these preloaded messages, and the messages are actually preloaded in Parent Square too, so that we are consistent when we're communicating. There are things that administrators can pull up like that, adjust real quick, and send, so that they don't have to, because when you're under a lot of stress like that, it actually, I heard it decreases your IQ. That's what Gene Biggs told me. 50 points. I'm like, oh, honey, we're in trouble. Yeah, so being under extreme stress like that can really be not the best thing for you. And then systems issues, updating our protocol handbook, like I talked about. Finalizing contracts with reunification sites, so those require an MOU, and we have taken care of that. Retrain administrators, I talked about that. Prioritize additional trainings for Stop the Bleed, first aid, CPR, and reunification. So we trained all our administrators in Stop the Bleed, and we've ordered Stop the Bleed. Well, we will order. We're not quite there, but Derek gave me some really good advice on that the other day. Thank you, Derek. Derek was like down into the details about what you need for particular age groups of students, and I was like, oh, that's really helpful, and recommendations, so that was really great. And then, designating roles during emergencies and defining duties. So what we learned during the swatting event was that we have a lot of really capable people in the district and at the district office, but we need to assign their roles to them so they know what they're doing in the event of an emergency. And then adding an after-action review, or law enforcement calls it a hot wash, which I prefer. I like the word better. Where you go through the details of anything that happened, and we did that with all 8 law enforcement agencies that reported to the swatting. That was really, that's the most interesting meeting. Meetings are usually not interesting, but that one was. And I was listening to all the nuances between the agencies and like, not, I mean, even the police agencies had different ideas about how things should be a little bit. And I was like, oh. And so, you know, just learning all that was very interesting. Let's see here. There's like a lag on this. If you push it twice, then you really are in trouble. Here we go. So this is the standard response protocol. This is the I Love You Guys Foundation. And this video, if we watch it real quick, we don't have to because the meeting's going to be so long, but it does go through like what a hold is, what a secure is, what a lockdown is, what an evacuate is, and what a shelter in place is. And I think it's really important, you know, we practice all of those things, and we were talking about how the hold isn't used as much as it could be. So, you know, we've trained administrators when to use a hold and when to use a secure and when to use a lockdown. And just knowing those nuances between those things is really important, and when you should use one and when you shouldn't. Reunification, so Gene Biggs came in and trained on reunification. So we are one of the few large high schools in the state that has done a full off-site reunification. And it was great because Derek invited me up to talk to Portland Police Bureau, and I went to their office. That was really interesting too. And he was training people that day and talked about my experience and the mistakes I made during that and how that has changed. You know, like I did a couple things I shouldn't have done. Like I walked into a building where there were active law enforcement officers trying to find a bad guy. That's a bad idea, Kim. Derek's like, you did what? I'm like, yeah. And so, you know, just like that, you know, I just felt like I needed to be in there to help. But that is not, I should have stayed out there to help. But anyway, like some of those things that we learned during that time period. And, you know, having schools ready with a muster location on site plus an off-site location, and really determining when we use those. Off-site locations require a contract, an MOU, a detailed plan, a reunification kit that includes all the necessary equipment and rosters and everything. And you have to update the rosters all the time. You know, like I was on the phone calling the high school saying, hey, print 6-period rosters, because that's what period we were in. But, you know, just having those things in place already, because even though our high school was prepared in a lot of ways, they weren't prepared for the site we went to. And so no matter what, had we had everything perfect and in a container and ready to go, if it was at our site that we were going to, it wouldn't have been there. Like, so our old site was the Fest Hall. And so, you know, if you're gonna do that, you have to have that container ready at the district office. So we've learned all these really helpful things, and we're putting all these things in place.
Hey, Kim.
Yeah.
On this one, just because I saw it somewhere else, something about the Oregon Gardens being our spot now. Like, did I see that somewhere where we don't have it? The reason I'm asking, because it seemed like strange, because if we are that far away, like the Fest Hall, say, how would we get our kids there?
Yeah,
That seems even more strange than the Oregon Gardens.
Yeah, you bus your kids to wherever the reunification is usually, unless it's one that's on site. So, like, say the high school has a muster site on the soccer field there. Like, so we could have just lined kids up in rows. But, you know, law enforcement asked us to evacuate the building. I think that, I mean, we don't usually talk about where our reunification sites are because we don't want parents to beat us there. So, like, when we're trying to move kids there, like we usually don't tell them until we're there and we're set up, and we are announcing, you know, different.
So where reunification
updates.
happens, will be released the day of where it needs to occur at. Okay.
Yeah, because it's important that we don't flood that facility with people that are frantic, and you know, I mean, if you have that situation, odds are we'll never have to do a full reunification offsite again, KJ, and I'll probably never see that in our time. I hope. But, you know, if we do, we want to make sure it's structured in a way that's safe and organized and really well thought out. So, you know, like we do a run through wherever our reunification site is, a dry run through without kids. And so that's also.
I didn't know that busing was an option, so that makes sense.
Yeah, we bus.
I was used to them walking,
Yeah.
like last time.
Yeah. And you could do that. I mean, like, that wouldn't have been such a problem if Brett hadn't had 475 kids in here that day. And like, you know, how they release their kids is by loudspeaker. And so like, here's a prime example is like, we're gonna release. And I'm like, oh my gosh, no, not that, no. Because all our high school kids are like getting their bags. I'm like, stop, not you. So just like those little complications like that. So we had to tell Brett, don't use the loudspeaker. And he's like, what? And so like, it was just and Brett handled it like a champ. But I don't think it was very much fun for him when we all marched over here. Yeah, it was a very interesting day.
I see another therapy session coming.
This is why we're all sitting. Yeah. Communications, this is like the heart of, you know, what you do in any type of emergency. And Patrick Mulligan and Kelly Scott have done an amazing job, like really amping up the communications in the district this year. And Patrick did a lot of work this summer, creating those templates and getting, you know, verbiage ready for winter storms and all kinds of, you know, odd things that we see. And that was really, and he worked on the emergency protocol handbook for the district. He and I did that together. The reunification plan we got from Gene Biggs. So we have accumulated all these different things. Therese Gerlitz has been working on planning efforts with the reunification. So it's really been a team effort. And it's still a work in progress. If you look on the whiteboard behind Josh, there is a whole safety pyramid there. And you can see my check marks on stuff that we've already done and stuff that we're working on. And you should look at that before you leave. I mean, that's a lot. So if you got to the upper echelon of that, you've done every single possible thing you can, but the first thing you do is you build the foundation. And so we're on those foundational pieces, and we're working our way up the pyramid. And so that's been pretty interesting. That's Medford's tool that we stole. So Al Jetz brought that back from the seminar. So it's like a really good group effort. We added a PEEP form, which is a personal emergency plan for a student. We added those to the IEP. Brandon thought that was a good idea because we had students that were really traumatized by the noise of that alarm in the high school. It's really loud. The first thing I saw was some poor student exiting the building. They were really frantic and holding their ears, and that made me feel really terrible because that shouldn't happen to a student. So we have these forms in place now. They're attached to a student's IEP, and if we have an emergency like that, it gives us everything we need to know about that student in the moment. And we could use that form for students that aren't on an IEP too. Did you delete me, Daniel? Ah, there we go. And then I talked about some of the school site evaluations we'd already done. Professional development, growing and learning together. So we are, because of all the issues we've had in the state with sexual misconduct this year from different districts that have been in the news, we decided to do a live training with PACE just because we think it's a better, more effective training than what we use in Vector. Vector is fine, you know, it's an online course that people take, but this was a really good course, and it gave I thought it was better information, practical information. Stop the Bleed, I already talked about. We retrained everybody in standard response protocol, and I think, the last thing is we have done harness training with the full custodial and maintenance staff. So they all have a harness now. So next steps, continue to build capacity and continue up the pyramid. Complete the implementation of Safer Watch, which is a crisis management app that the high school is piloting right now. That'll go across the district. Prioritize budget and resources to improve safety. So this could include bond funds, capital set aside, or grant funds if awarded. Continue to partner with OSHA and SAFE and all those people that are helping us through the way, and to strengthen our partnerships and align our long-range facilities and strategic planning goals to enhance district safety. And then just to continue to promote transparency and collaboration with our community. And then you have, these are resources that could be released to the public. Some of the resources I sent you separately because they have reunification locations and stuff in them, so I didn't think those should be public-facing documents. So you have a couple extra on your email. I think that was a lot. Sorry, any questions?
Appreciate you sending it a few days ahead, because it was pretty extensive. And
Yeah.
I like to actually look at it before I show
thank
up here,
you.
so, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
No,
So-
that was very helpful.
Yeah,
This is really good work.
thanks, Lolly, I appreciate it.
Good job.
Have we made any specific changes to the high school this year? I know that doors being propped is notoriously a problem, or there's really nothing we can do with that, can we?
Well, we're trying real hard to keep those non-porous.
It's that door between CTE,
Yeah,
In the
so
gym, yeah.
kids like to stick a rock in it.
Yeah.
Because then it makes it easier. Kim mentioned the Salem Kaiser team, which have been a huge help. Actually, they have invited now Carter and Josh Craig join, they have like a monthly meeting that they're joining with people kind of doing that work in other buildings. But yeah, students like to prop that. They put little rocks in there to kind of keep it open. So Chris came and did a walkthrough and kind of gave us some suggestions, and they have an alarm we could put, that if that door gets propped, an alarm goes off, and it comes to like Carter or Daniel, so we can go and at least check and see who did it and follow up. I mean, it's not like an alarm with the whole school's hearing, but if you're
It'll
standing
work.
there and you would hear that, and it should deter you from propping it. But
You could set up like one of those red light cameras.
yes, there you go.
So put a rock in there, like a big old light.
Makes a big clicks. So yeah, that, I mean, we're really trying to avoid that, but a lot of kids are coming in and out of there. There's also some window screens that we looked into that are like the Salem Kaiser schools have them, and you can see out, but you can't see in, which is a security thing. And they said that deters kids from doing that in their buildings because they can't see who's on the other side, so that kids don't feel the pressure to open doors for kids trying to come in. So we've actually been working with Salem Kaiser Graphics to see if we can get a quote on what those would cost, because that's is said to help as well. But they don't want to walk all the way around where the door is.
Yeah, and controlled access would help with some of that.
Thank you.
That would be a part two. One of you asked me to give you an update on the Robert Frost Trust situation. Are you okay? Are you good with all of this information?
Sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So Jeff and I met with ZCS Engineering the other day, and they would like us to do a part 3 adjustment to Robert Frost. So when I talked to them, and I think I sent you this by email, but let's go over it in public so everyone knows. They are concerned with the general construction in that area, like the trusses are 4 foot on center in some places, some are 40 feet long, which is a really long truss. And so they are only concerned about it during a snow load. So just everyday functioning, it's safe for kids, but they're worried that if it had additional weight on it, that they might see more failure for trusses. And so we're doing an additional repair, which will involve some extra bracing inside the attic in that area. And then we're also doing some repairs on the catwalks and railing, adding some additional safety measures in there so that that's more secure. And then additionally, there is going to be a snow scale on the roof because, which probably not going to get any snow, but they want to see what the weight does if we did get any. So if we have snow between now and when that is repaired, we have to evacuate that building. So if we had a freak blizzard come in and we had a couple inches of snow come in, we would have to send kids home out of that building. That is just for snow.
So as an Eastern Canadian, what is a load? Because, where I'm from, 2 inches is just a daily occurrence.
Yeah, I think he's thinking that if it has any type of accumulation, we should not have kids in there that day. Which if we have snow in the town of Silverton, we're probably going to be on a late start anyway. So
What was the
No
rule
kids
for
at all.
Silvercrest back in the day? Silvercrest?
it's exact.
Yeah, it was like
1
1.5
inch.
inches.
Yeah.
So that'd probably be the same for Robert Frost.
Yeah,
then.
which is why they want the scale up there. Yeah, and they said, and so we are talking about doing some general roofing improvements on that building anyway, but That's ongoing. Jeff's already working on that, so that repair should happen soon. And I don't anticipate we'll have snow again this year, probably except for maybe at Silvercrest tomorrow. I don't know, it's supposed to go down to 1,000 feet. But not,
Spring break, that's usually the last.
that's the end of her, yeah. We will get those repairs completed, and so just those are well underway. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
And now we have the Brick Long Range Facility update. And so the Brick team, welcome you.
Yeah, over here. You're welcome. Good luck.
Feeling good until that.
Yes, it has a lot of lag time. I'd just give it a minute when you
Okay.
try to advance.
Hi all. Thank you for letting me be here today. I'm Dave Johnson from Brick Architecture.
And Ken Bell from Brick Architects.
So wanted to, let's take a minute. There we go. Share with you kind of a quick overview of the work that we've been doing with the Long Range Facility Planning Committee, and many of you have been part of that process or joining us for part of that. So nice to see you again, and thank you for that. A quick overview of the kind of our meeting timeline, or the arc of what we'll be doing together. We've mapped out 8 meetings in total. Bulk of our work to be done kind of in meetings 1 through 6. Starting off welcoming the group, bringing it together, and then beginning to offer information. Facility assessment information, a download of that. Kim talked a little bit about educational adequacy. We'll go over that, but offering that to the group. Also feeding in what we call community engagement, the open houses that many of you attended, a survey that went out to your community, lots of responses from your students, and also conversations that Kim has had with staff. It's been the kind of the bulk of the first 3 meetings, and testing the patience of the group maybe a little bit. Very anxious to kind of get to it as we are working through. It felt, though, important to offer that as a foundation of the work. Next couple meetings, really working and developing what we call North Stars, or sort of aspirations. You know, coming out, what's your vision for the future of the district, looking out 10 years. Those will become a way of evaluating kind of scenarios or solutions that we will build, test, and evaluate together. All kind of coming together, culminating in a recommendation that will go to Kim, who in turn will share that with you all. Have reserved meetings 7 and 8. If the recommendation is to move toward a bond, we'll transition at that point to a bond development effort and begin to further refine kind of those scenarios in that direction that we've established as part of the long-range planning. So some quick highlights from the facility conditions assessment. Those have been building off of work that has been done in the past. Our team has been out there with partners from ZCS looking at your building structurally, and also Laminar Flow Engineering, who's looking at mechanical plumbing systems. Kim talked a little bit about the structural issues. I feel those are well documented, have kind of a plan in place there, as Kim discussed, to address those issues. Maybe one other thing that typically comes out of those reports, and will be in ours as well, some plans for seismic improvements. Know that those have been done over the years. Just want to flag that often the standards relative to those over in the past have been less than clear, and certainly evolving. So what's usually documented in those reports, and will be in ours, that yes, met those standards when they were completed, but often buildings don't meet current standards. So we'll be flagging that, and it's just as a part of other renovations that occur, that usually that's an opportunity to dig in and make sure that those buildings meet current standards relative to size and performance. Accessibility related issues, that's a big one. And we'll talk about this relative to educational adequacy. That's a big deal. You know, parts of your buildings are inaccessible. There are stairs to educational spaces, libraries, classrooms, things like that. equity-related issues there. Also big challenges, and it's burdensome for your staff, administrators, to try to find ways to make sure that spaces are accessible as appropriate for all kids, all students. Those are challenging though. Often they're structural, right? They're a big part of those buildings. What we've seen and what we'll flag and capture there in those reports is often districts will undertake and address those issues as part of bigger kind of scale renovations. They're very hard to address sort of in isolation. If they're easy, definitely we'll outline plans for that, but often they need to be combined with more major renovations. Same thing for HVAC and plumbing. Many of your systems in your buildings are antiquated, kind of end of life. Replacing those systems, as you all know, is disruptive, costly, and that's a fairly typical problem that many districts and buildings of your age, and you certainly see that in your district as well. Just sort of a flag there that often they're kind of an even bigger challenge to address. You'll want to get in there and have modern HVAC systems that come with rooftop air handling units and things like that. Well, that has structural implications and roofs and things like that. So it can be a really difficult thing to address, but again, when buildings have larger scale improvements, that's the time you get in here and dig into that. But certainly we know that is an issue. Many of your buildings require roof replacement. Usually easy to kind of capture and kind of wrap your head around the plan there. The trick sometimes is that if those roof replacements, again, are part of larger renovations, you need to increase energy performance of the roof, add insulation, has a weight associated with it. Sometimes that has structural kind of implications too. Other things that will be flagged in that report, many of your buildings don't have fire suppression systems. Those are usually not required, and they're planned, assuming that those aren't there. We've seen districts sometimes prioritize those, again, as part of other renovations. Usually when they are kind of included in those renovations, they're for ways to kind of protect property. Egress systems get kids out in terms of life safety, but they can preserve your assets, help to preserve your assets. One additional thing that we flagged in the assessment is underperforming old single pane window systems. Again, a tricky one, high dollar value attached to that to replace all windows in the building. We like to kind of include that and do a better or sort of more comprehensive evaluation. Does it make sense to spend that money when you're looking to increase thermal comfort? Can you do that with the design of the mechanical systems and not have to take on the burden and the cost of the window replacement as well?
And one thing I wanted to add before we move to educational advocacy is that the final report that'll come out at the end of the long-range plan will have detailed analysis of these along with cost information, those kinds of things. But they do number in the hundreds of millions of dollars. So there's some pretty significant needs across the district, and a large percentage of those are classified in what we call the 0 to 5, the critical needs. So they're either immediate or will be needed in the next 5 years. So.
A lot of need across your district. Looking at the same buildings from an educational adequacy perspective, and the way that we do that, these are interviews and questionnaires that we develop. We have educational planners on staff, and we talk to your building principals, and we talk about ways that building is kind of facilitating what educators and administrators are trying to do, or hindering or working against them. There are some strengths and some good things that were flagged. Certainly your community connection and investment in your buildings and program. I mean, that not every district has that to the extent that you have. That is without a doubt a strength. Parent clubs, community members, donating resources and volunteering, that is a strength of your district. Your teachers are resourceful. They're maximizing what they're doing, often within some really significant constraints, but they're creative and they're doing some wonderful work in those buildings. Your libraries are definitely acting as community hubs. The way that people come together in and around your buildings is wonderful to see. Great and exceptional offerings, CTE offerings, welding, agriculture, culinary arts, all of those are well equipped and feel purposely designed, especially at the high school level. Your school sites feel generously sized. Not always the case, but there's sufficient outdoor space to support educational activities, recess, and community programming. Maybe some challenges. Yeah, where do your buildings fall short? From teaching and learning, kind of across the board, real struggles at the middle school level, in buildings that supporting kind of appropriate, age-appropriate curriculum and programming, just anywhere in your district. So a real need there. Furnishings are dated, mismatched, inflexible, real issue for teachers there. A lack of flexible spaces that your teachers can utilize to support programming and a whole slew of different activities. A lack of dedicated STEAM spaces in many schools. Old carpet, no sinks, things like that, which are really holding your teachers back. Kim talked about this in terms of health, safety, emergency preparedness. There's significant security deficiencies across all schools. No cell phone service, no generators, lack of air conditioning. A real big issue there. Kids are too hot, too cold to learn, to concentrate. Major accessibility barriers. A lack of basic infrastructure, no cafeterias, no gyms at some schools, no main offices and admin space. So some big issues to overcome.
Okay, so with the Long Range Planning Committee, we throw in a lot of data at them. I mean, that process begins very data heavy, which is why we joke that they probably have been impatient with this and would love to get rolling. And but it's important that we bring the whole group up to the same level of information and knowledge so that they can make collective decisions that are in the best interest of the district moving forward in their recommendation to you all. And so we created this dashboard with the idea that, we do this over the course of almost 6 months. And in previous processes, we have seen that sometimes committees forget about data that was given to them or presented to them at the beginning of that process, and whatever came last sort of factored in heavier. And so we wanted to make sure that everything that they heard from a quantitative data standpoint could be in front of them in a one-sheet document, just as a reminder of what are the things that they faced. And so this was our attempt to create a tool. It's not a perfect tool, but it's a tool to give the committee sort of a framework to look at. It's also a tool that we're going to utilize to analyze potential scenarios moving forward with how do they answer these things. As you can imagine, red is bad, yellow is, some issues, and green would be good. And so I just want to talk about, I'm not going to talk about each school, but I'm going to talk about each data point. So obviously, after we talk about the school and the configuration, the building age, that number is the date at which the first structure on that facility was built. And it acknowledges at the bottom of the chart that building age, we know that on most sites, there's been buildings built after that fact, but just to use something that could be consistent across all buildings. And so the average is 1955, which is 71 years old. That's about double the state average for building age, and is one of the reasons why we see needs in the hundreds of millions, because we have buildings that old. Enrollment, not going to talk too much about that except for the average. The average per building is 211 students, and if you take the 10 schools in the state dashboard that are 5 above and 5 below us in enrollment, that is twice as many buildings as those districts average. So the average is about 5 for districts our size, and we're at 11. And then utilization, this is a formula that utilizes student enrollment, building capacity, and then usage. So at the elementary level, that's a pretty simple formula because every classroom is utilized during the day. At the middle and high school level, where teachers have a prep period, it assumes that that building is that room is occupied by that teacher during their prep. So sometimes schools can operate above the percentage. It also is a ratio of a targeted class size, which may not reflect the actual sizes because things don't work out perfectly. 22 second graders don't attend every school. Some end up at 26 and some end up at 19, but we used a targeted example. And honestly, this is a level, even though you see some red here, there's two that are somewhat underutilized, and that causes a little bit of some issues in terms of cost. But then there's a few that are a little bit over, but this is really not a significant thing. The overall district utilization rate of 94% is really good and is indicative when you look at your long-range enrollment forecast, you're looking to stay right around that same number. So that's a pretty solid, even though there's some red there, I was probably a little harsh in my red, and that is probably a pretty good line. The next line is very interesting. This is dollars spent per student per school. And so your district average is just a little over $14,017. And so red means that it was significantly above the district average. Yellow means it was slightly above the district average. And green means it was at or below the district average. And so you can see two of your schools that are in the red both have the lowest utilization rates in the district. And that is a part of why, because running schools that sit below their utilization rate is challenging to run because you lose some of the economy of scale savings that you can get when you do that. Also on this line, it's hard to tell on the versions on the screen, but you can probably tell on your monitor that there are some that are underlined. And the underline means that that school gets a reduced resource ratio. And so even though its per student spending may be lower, that is because for example, some schools have less than a full-time administrator. Less than a full-time counselor, so they get a reduced resource in some way, and that is how a district finds the way to balance the budget with them. So that's why those are underlined to signify the way they get to that number is to reduce the resources allocated to them. The next two lines are a bit of a subjective, but they are a bit of subjective. It's a rating done by our team. Based on the reviewing our facility assessments and educational adequacy assessments by our team, which has multiple members with over 20 plus years of experience. I'm a retired K-12 teacher and administrator and was a director of facilities and operations, and part of those conversations. I would not tell you that this is a perfect tool, but it is a really valuable tool for taking a look at our district. So the facility condition assessments, if it is red, it's because it has significant needs that are either high cost or in the 0 to 5 year range, meaning that they're immediate. In many cases, they're both, like a new roof needed in the next 12 months type of thing to avoid, potential other issues. If it's yellow, it means it has some needs in that significant near term or high cost category. And if it's green, of which we didn't have any, Silverton High School was the closest to that. It has two sort of significant needs. One is a roof issue in one part of the building. And the other one was an HVAC system. Those two things were different. That one could move to the green if those were repaired. So that was probably the building that was the closest to being green. Under educational adequacy, again, David talked about how we take a look at this. And I think this is the most, I am a retired educator, but this is the category that I think sometimes people overlook. They get really hung up on facility condition assessments. And I think what really we should be looking at is how things impact kids and staff and the learning of students. And so this is an attempt to evaluate that. And so red means that there are significant issues at that school that are affecting learning and the comfort of students and staff in that building. Yellow with the asterisk means that it was right on the borderline between yellow and red. Our assessor wanted to move us to orange there, but I stuck with my red light, green light, yellow category. But that tells you those could have easily been red because they are pretty significant issues in each of those schools. And then Silverton High School was the only one that earned a green on that. And so this is just a tool to take a look at and compare as a school by school basis and to see sort of where some of your truly hot spots are from that red. And we will continue to use, especially those bottom two lines, under facility conditions and educational adequacy as a tool to evaluate scenarios that we start to look at over the next few months with the long range planning committee.
So I have a question on this.
Yeah.
And I kind of just let it go at the last meeting, keep the meeting going. Because this got shown to us at long range. The dollar per student, what is calculated to make that number? Because we get paid about 13.2 per kid.
It's not
from the
revenue,
state.
it's expense, so.
That's what I'm asking.
Yeah,
What
it's
is
everything
this
that's
number?
coded in the DAC in the center to that school. So that includes materials and supplies to that school, that includes utilities, that includes janitorial, that includes
Yes.
staffing, all divided by how many students are there.
So this is the total overhead per
Total
basically
cost of that school.
minus
directly,
the amount of students in that school.
divided by the number of
Yeah,
students.
that's correct. Well, that's very helpful.
And
Because
then
like
it
you said,
includes
like making this,
ADM, right? And
What's that?
ADM and property tax,
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
tax revenue.
That's about
Plus
95% of our
grants.
revenue, yeah.
yeah.
because I figured this was your numbers, Tom, I figured,
Yes.
so.
We get
Yeah, I was just
11.
really nervous about letting this go public until like we could actually answer how that number got brought up, because we always get asked about this per school, so thank you.
And our state school fund amount per student's about 11,200, unweighted. So sometimes you have
Yes,
higher
correct, I
amounts.
was right, yes.
Yeah.
11.2, not 13.2.
But I wouldn't get into that. I would
I
focus on the
wouldn't.
expenses
Yeah, I
because, number one, it allows you to see everything apples to apples.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a really clean methodology for year-end expenses last year divided by year-end enrollment.
I only mentioned it because he said 13.2. and
Yeah, I was off.
It's 11.2.
Yes, that's my bad.
Yeah, it's okay.
And the last one about this
Is
is
it not-
enrollment,
is it
people are
13.2?
wondering why I cared so much, is because of the difference. And I got a principal right here I'd like to know. Jamie, like, I have listed historically like 200 is the enrollment cap at your building. What do you feel like is a good number for you? Because they have you over at 122% with 161 kids. I feel like that's like not, I'm just confused. Yeah. Oh, say Mr. Rise, sorry. James, sorry, James.
Yeah, we're in the one, yeah, we're a little below what our complete was.
But so like right now you're at 153. Do you feel full at 153?
We are utilizing our one last classroom as our LRC space. And so if we were to go up to that 160, literally our LRC goes into a closet. And so technically we have a classroom that's not being completely used as a classroom, but I cannot imagine how we would do that.
Okay.
I visited there the other day, and there was teacher and student working in the hallway.
Okay. So
to
that's
give
not
you an idea.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Perfect.
technically there's some space there, I guess?
There's not. All right. Thank you.
Maybe just a few things to offer. Our team has been out, as many of you know, conducting open houses at many of the facilities in the district. Also put out a survey which had a good response, in particular from high school students, which is great. And then additionally, your superintendent has been out speaking and conducting sessions with staff. So weaving in some of the larger primary themes from all of that, really a strong sense that there's something really special about your district, and then it's really that community connection, as I mentioned before. Close relationships are, in particular, what makes the K through 8s feel so special. And additionally, I think I mentioned the sort of choice that exists in your district and the ability to find the right pathway for your kids. All your teachers, staff, and community do their best to make things work and support your kids. There are conditions and sort of infrastructure and buildings that are getting in the way of family, staff, and student success. Just a theme from that engagement out of those surveys that was definitely mirrored in our assessments. Schools really need to have climates that are conducive to learning. Other big ideas, a clear sense that planning needs to consider both facility needs and program as well as affordability and sustainability. So there's sort of practicality and, we need to move forward, but within, our means to pay and our budgets. That idea of choice that I mentioned, what's worked well for one student or family doesn't work well for everyone. So finding the right path for your kid. Questions in those surveys and that engagement about what's something the district should prioritize. Is that idea of safety. There are some feelings that came up of sort of distrust that and maybe as a product of some uncertainty about what might happen and a fear about closures or other things. And that is really framing how how families kind of see and interact with the district. Some of that has, I think, been hard to hear, right? But it's there, so providing forums for that to come out and hopefully move past that. And additionally, difficult to hear about kind of the rift that still is felt and exists between the rural and town schools. So feel to us like challenges that our committee will work through and hopefully develop kind of scenarios and a planning direction that takes in all of that kind of feedback, but charts a path forward. I think that's all we have today.
I think you guys have summarized that really well.
Yeah.
I know Sarah's been in there too.
I think in the package that you guys received, there are specific kind of evaluations. We're planning on going through that today. If you have questions either today that you'd like to ask, we'll do our best to respond or let you process that, and we'll always be open to coming back and answering any questions that you develop. Okay.
So sum it up, you're done with the gathering information. Now you're going to simulate it into a plan through the committee as far as how do we solve or fix as much of this as can be fixed.
Yeah, thank you. And excited about that for next meeting to do kind of a two-part agenda. One is what is it, capture our aspiration in terms of those North Stars and establish that as a way of evaluating scenarios. We're planning to come to the next meeting and offer 4 scenarios to kind of move forward and then engage the committee in evaluating those, maybe picking at them, building something in between, hybrids between them. And then we have a couple more meetings to kind of work through that. May task us with, we need some additional information, some things we want you to look at. We'll go away, do that kind of due diligence and that research and come back to put some flesh on the bones of those scenarios, to answer questions and hopefully, I don't know how to say it, facilitate the work of that committee in coming together and developing a recommendation.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, awesome.
Very good. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Back to me. Stay.
Sobering.
Yes, to say the least. Elise, you have a mid-year report for us.
I do. So the state actually passed a law that doesn't necessarily take effect till next year, but we thought we'd start it this year, where we will present beginning, middle, and end of year data. And so we're going to do it now. So I know our principals come every month and present their building, and they usually throw in their data, but we're going to show you district-wide. Maybe.
This is part of the new accountability.
Yes. How did you get this? Oh, there we go. So I just want to kind of go over some terms. Not everyone is familiar with our education lingo, so I thought I'd go over that with you. So BOY is just beginning of year, MOY, middle of year, end of year. And then the assessments that we do in K through 5, we do DIBELS, which is a reading assessment, as well as STAR, that's a reading assessment. And then for K through 5 math, we do iReady. And STAR is 6 through 8 reading and math. And then we do OSAS testing 3rd through 8th grade and 11th grade. So that's kind of the data we're going to hit on in these slides. So I tried to separate it out by reading and grade level for you. So otherwise it would all be on one slide. You wouldn't be able to read any of it. So this is a screenshot straight from DIBELS. or Amplify, the platform that we use to gather the data. So you'll see at the very top, it's all of our schools for all of the K through 5 combined. So beginning of the year compared to middle of the year. Red is that far below grade level. Yellow is nearing grade level, but not quite there. The green is at grade level, and blue is above grade level. And so you can kind of see where the growth has been made. Our kinders made a ton of growth. That's kind of typical, but they did come in lower this year than they have in previous years, which is happening all across the state. It's not just our district that's happening in. And so, you know, we do see shifts in the red and the yellow, but we really want to see that shifts in the green and the blue.
Can I ask you a question
Yeah.
real quick? As a non-educator,
Yeah.
what is considered, because obviously it's a progress and it's improving, but what is considered standard, below standard, and above standard as far as the percentage of improvement?
Ideally, you want to see 80% or more of your kids at or above grade level, ideally.
Okay.
But obviously, we have to take into and compare it to what other state numbers are. And so typically, our students are on the higher end with the state numbers. But ideally, you want 80%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also kind of follow up on that, internally, do you look at per classroom? So you compare, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, buildings do
So
that.
who's,
Yeah.
somebody might be a rock star, or some type of demographics going on that.
Yeah, so our K through 5 buildings have been doing what we call core review meetings 3 times a year, where they sit down with teachers and specialists and the principal. And sometimes we utilize Sharon from Oregon RTI, where they're doing core review and they're looking at their classroom or their grade level as a whole. What changes do they need to make to their core instruction to meet the needs of their learners? Some are doing 20% meetings, and so they're looking at those. Yeah, and I'm working on compiling all of this data in a very gigantic sheet I'm trying to get as much data going back about 3 or 4 years just to kind of see some trends. I like data a little bit. So then here's 3rd through 5th grade. So again, I have our all schools data at the top, just so you kind of have that overview. And then 3rd through 5th grade growth. When I was looking at this and kind of doing a deeper dive, our 3rd through 5th grade have made some really great improvements. In that grade band, that's where we implemented 95% this year. And in K through 2 is where we implemented UFly, the other new curriculum. So I wanted to hit on the reading accuracy. This is a component within DIBELS that's assessed. This has some just major growth that I really wanted to highlight with you all. I mean, you can see from beginning of the year to middle of the year, we are at 54% at grade level, and now we're at 77. I mean, that is something to celebrate, and it's really exciting.
What's your score again, Katie?
5th grade at Robert Frost is 90% of our kids are benchmark or above for accuracy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
But I can't, yes, my teaching partner and I work our tail off, does kinder through 4th grade teachers who also help get the kids there.
It's cumulative, yeah.
Yeah, it's a group effort.
It is a
Yeah.
school
Great.
effort.
So we're just seeing the continuous amazing of our staff and students making that growth throughout the years. Yeah.
What is reading accuracy compared to the rest of the score? What separates these two categories?
Ugh, there's a lot of different categories in
Yeah,
DIBELS.
there is.
Kim, do you want to maybe explain that one better?
Well, DIBELS tracks a couple of things. So reading accuracy is like how many words you read accurately.
Correct.
Like,
Okay.
how, in a correct way. So are you able to decode it to where you can understand what it is and what so,
Okay.
if it's whistle, you know what it is. And then, fluency is how fluent your reading is and how, quickly you can read and that impacts your accuracy as well.
Thank you.
How many, they score words per minute, right?
I think so. I think in DIBELS.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
So Star Renaissance is another one that we utilize, and Star Renaissance is actually now an ODE approved interim assessment that thankfully we already use it, so it's great. We re-implemented K through 5 this year, so K through 1 does the early literacy assessment, and then 2nd through 5th grade does Star reading assessment. So you can kind of see here the growth. I hear from a lot of teachers that the winter STAR assessment is kind of like a dip down instead of a dip up like we want to see. So I'm really interested to see what the end of the year assessment will look like.
Is that done right after Christmas?
It's usually, we did this in February.
Yeah, late January.
Late January, early February this year. So this is this was a little interesting to track down. So I wanted to give you numbers as well as percentages. So, but you'll see that 24-25, the number is in the 500s, and now we're in 800s. So I actually been in contact with Renaissance about this. So what I've gathered is that if they are a current student, we can go back and look at past, but if they're not current students, we can't go back and look anymore unless we archive the data. It's a little frustrating, and I've been trying to figure out how we can get a workaround. And then so for STAR reading for ELA, the numbers look different because I don't have the previous year's data to have an accurate comparison. But I wanted to give you the previous year's data, but with that caveat that it's not all there.
It's like missing a grade level that went to the high school.
So I'm trying to get that from them, but I might not be able to. So we might just have to start fresh this year with tracking all of the data. But I wanted to kind of just give you some historical context so you could see what it looks like. So this is 6 through 8 reading assessment that we've been doing quite a while in this district. And then I also wanted to show you the OSAS scores. Our district in comparison to the state average. So obviously when it says K through 5, it's really 3 through 5 because we don't start testing them in OSAS until 3rd grade. But you can we're the orange rows. And then the state average is the other rows.
And then when you hear me talking about 48%, that's a 3rd grade level. So you can pull one specific grade out if you want. That's an average of all grades 3 through 5. Yeah.
Now let's take a look at math. So for math, like I said, we do iReady reading math for K through 5. And so this one is a little bit different. It has the diagnostic 1 or the beginning of the year on the bottom, and then the diagnostic 2 on the top. On that graph on the top, and then I put our numbers in a chart down below. So again, we have made some growth. We're getting there. This one's a little bit harder to see, I guess, depending on where you're looking. But again, I broke it up K through 2. So again, the beginning of the year is on the bottom part, and the middle of the year is on the upper row. So we are making growth. We're making continuously to make growth. We utilize the iReady math curriculum for this. And it has MyPath in it, which is a online platform that the students can use, and it is based on their level and adjust on their needs. And then 3 through 5. And again, at the top, I put the district whole score on there just so you could compare.
Do you track the participation in the at-home programs? So you say you have some that's available for the kids at home also?
This is done in the classroom.
In the classroom. Okay.
And previously they actually recommended not over assigning it to kids because it does not make any, it doesn't benefit them the more they do it. There was a set limit that actually they recommended they stay and do.
So they don't have summer programs or for kids that are interested or anything like that.
So then this is STAR math for grades 6 through 8. Just giving you a snapshot of beginning of year to middle of the year. And then the previous year's data. For some reason, the student number stayed pretty same on this one. It's fun to see how it does that, but I know that last year we did not test our ELA and STAR for K through 5, but we've been doing it for 6 through 8. So they still have yet to figure out to explain to me how we get it in some and not in others. But again, the historical context I thought would be helpful for you to see. And then again, our math OSAS data, just so you can kind of compare it to state to see where we're at. lower than reading, but that is kind of the norm across the state.
There's a goal around this in the accountability plan. ODE wants everybody to be at 52% for, I believe it was either 5th grade or 8th grade math. I can't remember which one. And that hasn't been released like to the public yet, but they gave us a brief like glance at it the other day. And that is a very lofty goal for the state. It's going to be, we're going to have to throw some time behind it and some, some other intervention strategies. And we spend so much time on early literacy. I raised my hand in the meeting and I said, I don't know where you think we're going to put that. Like, that's going to be really hard to get there because, like, you could ask any of these guys. They're like hitting science and social studies. Like, they can't hit those every day because they don't have enough time because they spend so much time on literacy instruction, which has moved literacy rates in the state. So, I mean, that is working. But now you add the math component to it too, and then the PE minutes, and then sometimes ODE lacks that practical lens of an educator who's trying to do all those things in their classroom. It's really hard. So we try and tell them.
And maybe they should put some of their money where their mouth is?
Perhaps.
Perhaps.
Is this a public meeting?
Yes, it is. So kind of where we go from here, obviously, the state's going to give us some goals, but I really wanted to hone in on kind of a lot of the things that K through 5 are doing. Give me a little time as I really get into this role, and I'll give you more information about the other grades. But like I said, K through 5 is really focusing on these core review meetings that they do in the fall, winter, and spring. All of our schools have completed these this year. And where they sit down and look at the data. Where are kids growing? What specific skill and doubles are they struggling at? And then they really focus on a plan to work on. And then they review it again. We have 20% meetings also. Some of the schools are doing these where they look at the bottom 20 and really make some specific goals for those kids. We do have some DBI meetings happening for specific one-off students where they want to try and work on a plan for that kid. And then just working on common alignment of our curriculum and the curriculum that we have, Wonders, UFly, 95%, and really working on how to integrate those into our classroom and with each other, whether it's a crosswalk, but really working on utilizing the curriculum that we've purchased. So then in the end of the year, this probably won't be right in June, depending on when we get it, but probably at the beginning of the July board meeting, we'll share the end of the year data with you, and I'll give you a whole year's worth of progression. Any questions?
20% meetings are only occurring in reading right now, I assume?
Yeah. We've really been focusing on reading since even before I got here. And so I know it's been a really big focus.
So how old are the curriculums that we're utilizing for reading and for math?
How old are they?
Yeah. How long have we been using it?
Wonders was adopted in 2022, and it is not strong in the science of reading. I hope McGraw Hill's not listening to me. And so we adopted UFly in K2 to supplement with those foundational strategies, and then 95% at grades 3 through 5. And then I don't know what year you guys did iReady.
That was before
Anybody
I got.
know?
2022 or 2023, it was right around the same time.
22.
Yeah.
Okay.
Probably the year prior.
It was fun having new reading and math curriculum.
Yeah, awesome.
We used it for reading a little bit my first year or two here, but only little parts of it.
And am I allowed to ask a question this direction?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Just don't want to break protocol. I hear a lot from teachers that learning new curriculum is a lot of work.
Yes.
Okay. So when do you feel as a teacher you're on the optimal zone of utilizing, mastering, and applying a curriculum? Do you think it takes you 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? When do you feel like you're rolling?
I think it might depend on the curriculum.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, so for UFly, for instance, I feel like second semester, we've hit a sweet spot.
Okay.
Not for
It's
95%.
and UFly, and that does not mean it looks perfect.
No.
But I feel like our confidence is growing at just teaching it. The kids are getting it. But I think it totally depends on the curriculum.
On the curriculum,
Yeah.
how much different it is from before, and so on.
I mean, I think it takes at least a good year of going through and seeing the whole thing.
Well, like when we were at Victor Point the other day, Elise and I were watching, was that grade 4 or 5, I think?
Mm-hmm.
And after the lesson, she did an amazing job, and 95% has really high content. Like, it's really good stuff. It's aligned well to middle school the reading stuff that I used. And so I started looking at her lesson, and she's like, see how long this is? And it was like a whole huge page of verbiage that she's supposed to say. And I looked at it, and I'm like, well, you could omit that. You could omit that. Like, they're going to have to go through and say, well, they got to pick up the pace a little bit by eliminating some of the verbiage. Some of it was unnecessary, in my opinion, just from looking at the manual. But it's a really good program, and it has really high content standards, and it has good things about it, and it's really explicit. I saw the kids doing things in the classrooms when I've been in there that you don't normally see in a 4th or 5th grade class. So it's really high quality. Same way at Scotts Mills, and it's they're all very kind of lockstep. They're all kind of in the same place. Lesson, whatever it was, 75.
Yeah, so the teacher's just having to navigate. What do they trim to shorten it down? Because either the kids are getting it or it's too long, but they want to hit all the components. So where do they trim it?
Yeah.
So I'm just getting the feeling, just overall, that frequent change in the curriculum kind of gets to the point where it impinges the ability to teach, and we don't rely enough on the fact that these teachers are well trained, experienced, and so on, and we keep playing with stuff, and I'm like, well,
But
how many times can we reinvent it, right?
They make us do that.
Yeah.
Division 22 standards make us renew those curriculum models every 7 years. So there's a curriculum cycle. So for instance, in 2028, language arts will come up again, 28, 29, and we will look at it again. Now, if we loved what we had, we could stay with what we had. But I can tell you from feedback from our instructors that they don't love the core product we have.
Yeah.
But then there's the whole thing of learning a new thing, you know, and
And
implementing a new
there's
thing.
the expense of a
Yes.
new thing too.
And what would be really great is if we had a curriculum product for language arts in K-5 that was all comprehensive, where we didn't have to add things to it to make it be high quality for kids and evidence-based instruction. That would be amazing and there's a couple products that are close, that are much higher quality than Wonders, but I still think there's a way to go, and there's a ways to go with ODE and understanding what we need to implement those things with Fidelity, because an example is UFly has been adopted by 40% of districts in the state for K2 support, for curriculum support, yet you can't use the early literacy grant to pay for the professional development. So there are no professional development vendors listed under ODE's list that comply with UFly. So we paid for that out of our own pocket. So it's like, there's a huge disconnect, and I mean, I could scream it from the rooftop until I'm blue in the face, and well, I've already done that. And, so I'll try again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Elise.
That was a lot of work, Elise, thank you.
Yeah.
I'd like to take this opportunity, yes, I was going to say, feel free.
Oh,
We're in a setup here that doesn't make it very easy to sneak out, so.
Yeah, thanks. That was fun. I should have done that one.
Okay. Okay. Classified Employee of the Year recognition. Kim.
Yeah, so we honored some employees this week. It was really fun. Thanks, Daniel. That's awesome. So Natalia Escobar at Sequoia Falls, she just, the kids, I wish we had the kid picture on this. The kids all stood behind her, and they all cheered when she was awarded, and that was really cool. So she cried a little bit, which made all of us cry. She's just such a great part of Sequoia, and the kids just love her, and she's just an amazing resource for the district. She's bilingual, and she's just really, and she serves on the equity team, she's on strategic planning, like, she really gets into the work, and she's an awesome employee. And then we had Terry Mills at the high school, and that was fun because we tricked Terry a little bit by acting like we had some major problem. And she was there like 3 seconds. Wow, when you call, Terry comes. She was right there, and I don't think KJ even used the "we had somebody throw up" thing.
I was trying.
Yeah. And so that was really great, and her maintenance staff met her there with a big box of donuts, and that was just really fun. So they're really very honored to have these, you know, accolades for their work. And then last but not least was Kristen Norris at Mark Twain. And I asked Brandon if he wanted to talk about her. So they all have remarks from their colleagues that, that submitted their name. And Brandon goes, "My ride or die? Yeah." So, and Brandon's out tonight. He might be on, I think he's online. But she, you know, Kristen is really, like, her mind just is so amazing when it comes to support for our SPED students. And she just really does great work in buildings. All three of these people do amazing work in our buildings. I know Terry's covered our building a bunch when we're in a pinch, and you know, she just does whatever she needs to around the district. So these are three really high quality, wonderful employees that make a huge difference for kids every day. And they will be honored at the First Citizens Banquet next year if they want to join us. That was fun this year. And so we're just really blessed to have people like this in the district.
Cool. Thank you. And congratulations to them.
Back to you, Elise.
Okay. Elise, it looks like you're asking for some money.
I am.
Health curriculum.
Health curriculum, yeah. So we got a waiver this year. We were supposed to adopt a health curriculum last year. We did not do that. We were trying to be fiscally responsible, so we did get approved for a waiver this year to get us through, but we needed to purchase one. It is part of the Measure 2 requirements to have the health curriculum and implementation. And so ODE just made it real simple for us, and they only have one approved curriculum K-5 and one curriculum approved for 9-12 and two for 6-8. And so we actually get a choice for 6-8. So our health teachers got all together and kind of reviewed the curriculums. And so 6-8 was really the only one who kind of got to choose what they wanted. And so they thought it would be better to align with the K-5, which is the Great Body Shop. They felt that kind of having that alignment with K-5 was more important than having it with 9-12, especially when we have so many K-8 buildings where they would get the same curriculum year after year. And so we did get some quotes for these curriculums, and so combined it is about $223,000. That's for an upfront cost for a 7-year subscription for both of them. So if you equate that, it's about $32,000 a year for each curriculum, but we pay it all up front. And so kind of the reason why we want to are hoping to get approval to purchase it this year is our waiver does expire, and so we want to make sure we get the ball rolling on this. If and when we start that purchase, we can schedule training for fall, and trying to get trainers at the last minute is impossible. We can't even get U-Fly trainers out here because they're booked out at least a year in advance. And this would also give our staff time to start reviewing the curriculum. As you heard from our teachers, new curriculum takes time. And so this would give them time to start looking at it, to prepare. I know our teachers who teach health got together with James earlier in the year and kind of mapped out what that looks like. But now they can do it with their curriculum, so figuring out where to implement those.
It's my understanding it's not an option to look at other states' curriculum.
Correct.
Now you have to use something that ODE approves. Otherwise, you have to jump through all these hoops, and it's just not easy to get permission to use something else.
Yeah. So what we are hoping for is that you can approve a transfer from contingency funds to help purchase the curriculum this year, and then also approve the curriculum.
All the curriculum providers did take the sexual education component of the curriculum. That is an online unit, and it is not in the actual book. So you can opt out of it easier that way. So if families are concerned about that, and we can provide some support for them at the district office if they want an alternative. You know, we can lead them in the right direction to some supplies that might be, you know, more in line with what their family's thinking is good for them.
And both of these curriculums have been in the district office for about the last 2 years. If anyone wanted to come in,
yeah,
they're still there too. If people want to come and look at them.
And several people did come by and look at them early on. Yeah.
Okay. That was going to be my next question. If the general public had been involved in the screening process.
Yeah, we screened them last year, but they're still there. I mean, and we have very few questions and I had one lady call me and ask me a couple of questions. It was very minor.
Yeah, but they're still in the district office. If people
I reviewed the material today, and I thought it was fair, and it was, like you said, it looked pretty easy to opt out if so the parents choose to.
Yeah.
And I did like the phone section of the health education. I thought for the generations,
Yes.
it was very wise, and so.
And I know my kids bring home the Great Body Shop from school, so I've seen what that looks like.
Yeah, there are people using it locally.
I have two questions. First, for Elise, if approved, what's the timeline for implementation?
Well, I mean, we would implement it in fall. We would want to start it, but I would like to get it purchased so that the staff can start looking at it.
And because we're purchasing it with 25-26 funds, we can do it now. A lot of times when you purchase these, you're using next year's budget, so you have to wait till July 1. But in this particular case, we could do it now, which would be better for teachers.
That was my second question. Can we afford
sorry.
it? We have the funds to cover it.
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
So when families opt out, where do they go and what activity do these students do?
Oh, like if they opt out of the curriculum?
Yeah.
That's something we'd have to work with at the building level of what that looks like in each individual building.
Daniel, how were you able to review this?
I asked for the link, and I am right now very glad that I'm not the only one that was asking.
If you want, I can
Because I
send
felt
you
really
links
dumb
for
earlier today
the
asking.
curriculum
But
too.
at least, like, I send an email out, and I'm not going to kid you, it was less than a minute, I think. I got the 2 link for the curriculums, and I just had to push on it, and I could play on the website and check it all out. So yes, it was pretty impressive. The response time is faster than my response time. So. I can forward you the email if you want, Josh.
No, I'm going through it now. I just
Okay.
we're making action item, and I didn't have time to really
Yeah.
review it. I should have asked. It's my
Okay.
fault.
Tom, financial and enrollment reports. You're up.
I'll be brief since it's almost midnight with daylight savings time. We all want to get home pretty quick.
It's still light out.
It's the worst day of the year
You
for
can see
me.
through the window.
Me too.
Kids at home.
Hate it so much.
Waking up 30 minutes before the bus comes at home. I will be starting with the enrollment update. The enrollment update is a net -7, which is actually almost the same thing at this time of year in previous years. So we have early grads, and it's the end of the semester. Is that what they're called? Semester.
Yeah.
And so that's what happens. You also have a lot of students, 17 leaving the high school and about 12 going into hybrid in Sequoia. So you have some internal movements all around. So.
Is that normal to have, as the year goes along, I notice Sequoia keeps increasing? Is it because we're transferring students from the regular high school to, okay. I figure it was. but-
Jen's busy over there, huh, Jen? Busy getting kids.
So from here to the end of the year, it would be normal to get 1 or 2 students.
A week?
Yeah.
So just a couple miscellaneous budget updates. Late last week, I mean literally Friday, we were notified by ODE that our state support funds, our monies have increased a little bit for this year. So Brad Davison mentioned it takes time often a year for the money to follow the kids. So that's exactly the case. Our ADM numbers have been officially adjusted up a little bit. I think it's about 18 based on all the formula stuff. And what we get per kid has changed from 11,209 to 11,290. So that looks like a net difference of plus 750,000 for this year, which is great news. However,
Before we book our trip to Mexico?
before we book our trip and before I add it to the revenues, it's important to just take a second and say, you know, I had budgeted and assumed up to this point $710,000 for high cost disability. But really, at this time, we're unsure if we're going to receive that amount due to the huge problems with high-cost disability. It's budgeted at about 50 million at the state. It needs to be more than 200 million to be funded properly. There was a House bill, Senate bill last year to change that, and it failed. So they had an opportunity to fix it funding-wise, and they did not. Case in point, last year we budgeted $380,000. We received $3,000. There's a lot of school districts that kind of game it. They first claim their numbers are going to be high, and then it comes back, and the next year they have to take it back and then adjust it and stuff like that. So at this point, we almost throw our hands up. It's almost better to budget zero, and then whatever you get is a happy surprise. So that's totally different than 5 years ago, where it was like we budget for 600,000, we get like 590. We were really close 5 years and beyond. So I think a lot of this, the problems with high cost disability have all really occurred in like the last 5 years. So until we're notified of that actuals, which should be next month, I'll then update the revenues accordingly. Just an update on the capital reserve. The Mark Twain repairs came out to about 120,000. We got about 55,000 reimbursed to us from insurance. There's a deductible.
Robert Frost?
Robert Frost. Did I say Mark Twain?
Yeah, you did.
Robert Frost. Again, it's almost midnight, people. Let's just say.
Wrong building.
Robert Frost. So the repairs are about 120. We got 55 reimbursed from our insurance carriers. Deductible, and one of the beams had some issues, so they couldn't reimburse it for that. So on the whole, the majority of our capital reserve is still there for this year. We need to look at replacing the chiller now, and I asked some what I thought were very basic HVAC questions, and I got a scientific thesis back, and the only thing I can remember is that sensors keep going out and it's failing. So we'll be looking at what the costs are now and trying to get the process started to potentially replace it. It would be much better to replace it right now than trying to do it after July 1st in the middle of the hot summer, just in terms of supply and demand and stuff like that. So
I assume we're going to upsize it as well.
Well,
Yeah,
that's the
Yeah, it has
that's
to be increased inside.
and we don't know. I'm assuming it's between 500 and 700,000.
It is.
And our capital reserve is 500,000. One of the great things that's happened this year, of course, is we've unplugged from Sodexo, and because of the great work Elise has done, we had budgeted, I think, a transfer of 400,000 to the Food Services Fund, which always bleeds every year, and the transfer needed probably will be half that. And so that could be applied to for the chiller. And also it was great news because that means the chiller doesn't need to be weighted as part of the bond and pull from that. It can be done from the general fund as a normal thing.
It shows financial, responsibility to replace those things as we can.
The other FYI is RAM costs have doubled in the last 2 weeks. So we got a quote 4 weeks ago for teacher grade Chromebooks as we're kind of looking at them as a potential replacement for laptops. It was $750. On Friday, it went to $1,000. So we're looking at, which is an additional $50,000 for the district. And we don't know if this is just because of this month. In general, there's a huge need because of AI for processing chips and RAM. There's also other issues that are going on in the world that are flex supply.
Really?
Yes, they're not all made right here. So it's unclear that, but I wanted to give that just as an FYI. And then Elise mentioned using contingency for the health curriculum. I just want to note that contingency is a sign of a normal budget. Contingency is a sign of a healthy budget. We didn't have any contingency last year or two. So we have a $1,058,000. We haven't used any this year. It's not for emergencies. It's just for the things you don't know at the time that you adopt your budget. You set aside money. It has to go be approved, consent agenda by the board. You can't spend to it, so you take it and then you transfer it into the whatever budget line that the expense occurs. So I just wanted to remind everybody of that. So looking at revenues, it's really the same as last month, projecting 54 million. And then on expenses, they've ticked up a little bit, and then under materials and supplies, for the projection, you can see 90, oh gosh, did I say 95 or 96? It's so small. 96%. That's because we haven't made the transfer yet from contingency that would then increase that budget. So once that's approved via consent agenda, then that will probably drop to 80% of its utilization. But I did put the cost in there as well as the projected costs for the laptops. And so that gives us this I think it's slightly less than last month. I think last month was 1.7, so it's about a 1.6 add to the ending fund balance, giving us about 4.6. If we get great news on high cost disability, then we would add 710 to that. And that's my report. Any questions for me? Thank you very much.
No, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for expenditures by function in there and that, so thank you.
Appreciate all the thorough reports you do every month.
You're welcome.
Okay, discussion items. Superintendent evaluation, and I'll let my esteemed colleague here, Derek, take care of that since he headed that up.
Yes, so one of our process obviously is evaluating Kim, and the board did that. For brevity, I'm going to read just the executive summary piece, but the full evaluation will be on board book. Overall, the board is very, very pleased with Kim's work. And then Debbie will get this uploaded later. So the executive summary reads, the Silver Falls School District Board of Directors has completed the annual performance evaluation of Superintendent Kim Kellison for the 25-26 school year. The superintendent has continued to make significant strides in improving the district through her collaborative and effective leadership style. The Board of Directors welcomed a total of 4 new board members. 3 of those board members stepped into their roles in July of 2025, and 1 board member began serving in the winter of 2025 as a longstanding board member stepped down. All 7 board members have been able to directly observe Superintendent Kellison's work product, giving them a position of understanding to add valuable comments to this evaluation. The evaluation consisted of 8 professional standards, 3 of which the board placed significant weight upon. Given the challenges the district was facing, the school board wanted to provide clear direction to Superintendent Kellison about expectations and focus. The 3 standards the board prioritized included fiscal management, effective organizational management, communication, and community management. The evaluation used the performance ratings found in the Oregon School Board Association and Coalition of Oregon School Administrators Superintendent Evaluation Workbook. The performance rating definitions and corresponding point value are listed below, and there's 4 ratings. Accomplished is the highest, effective is the second highest, developing third, and then ineffective. The Silver Falls School District Board of Directors would like to extend a thank you to the Willamette Education Service District for their assistance with creating the survey that was used to facilitate this evaluation. Regarding the 8 professional standards, including ethics and professional norms, policy, governance, and advocacy, fiscal management, effective organizational management, communications and community management, visionary district leadership, inclusive district culture, culturally responsive instructional leadership and improvement, we determined Superintendent Kellison's performance in all of these was exceptional, receiving the highest rating level of accomplished for all 8 standards. Then the document that will be published has the board's additional comments, but again, fantastic job. Please keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Honored to be here. Thank you very much.
We'll keep you till Friday.
Okay.
I could use Saturday off. That'd be good.
Then we have board reports.
Right.
I asked for board reports to be put on here, and hopefully we'll keep a little brevity tonight, but I think it's important for, especially with a couple, 3 new board members and things like this, to kind of know what kind of goes on and what people are doing and everything. And so this is an opportunity for us as board members to report on any activities that were directly related to being a board member, but not at our regular board meetings, you get what I'm saying? And so, for example, as being the board chair, I'm involved with what they call the communications meetings that they have with the 2 unions that represents our employees in the district. And so I sit on those. I'm a fly on the wall. And but they're I just want to share that they're very congenial meetings in the sense that it seems like, to me as an observer, a safe place for both the district office and for the 2 unions to have conversations about some concerns, both sides, one way or the other. And what I find is most things that come up are generally rectified, no matter which side is looking at something one way or the other in a very short time. Staff is asked for and gives real input as to how they think something has worked or hasn't worked, and that is listened to and heard. And so there's one of those a month for each group. It just so happens since the last regular meeting, I've actually attended 3 because the classified one that's supposed to have been Thursday got moved up to today. So I've actually attended 3 of them now this month. But so those, and then I did 3 school visitations. Since the last regular board meeting, I visited Robert Frost, Central Hal, and Prattam. And just speak real quickly to our curriculum situation. I witnessed things going on in a kindergarten at Robert Frost with the curriculum and everything. And then 3 weeks later, I'm at Prattam, and I see the same kind of, for lack of a technical term, stuff going on. Dealt with consonants and vowel consonants and going on. And so there is getting that everybody's on the same beat. And I engage kids, and I've said before, I love those visits. I encourage any of you, when you have an opportunity, to just arrange with the principal. They're all great, and it lets you see things. And you know, like when the question came about, it lets me see that somebody's having to work there in the hall with a young student and things like that. So, but enjoyed those visits, and then also we had the in-district Battle of the Books, and Kashana and Josh and I all volunteered to be mentors or moderators at that, and that was a great thing to be at. And so we did that. So things like that come up. So if any of you got anything else to add, feel free. But I just thought we'd have that on there each time, and I think it's important that you know that we do have board members at some of these different things. Obviously, the long range, Wally and Sarah and Josh, you've been involved with that. Oh, and you, Daniel.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be 4 of you there.
Sarah and Daniel switch off.
Oh, okay.
I never know which one. I think Daniel.
I thought something's wrong. There's 4 of you.
I still haven't received an answer from legal if I'm allowed to watch online.
So.
I don't think so. It
No.
constitutes a
I
quorum.
did not.
Yeah,
but
Sarah
so-
has figured it out.
So anyway.
Then we're also doing the visioning process as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, he's on strategic.
And then I'm on that as well.
Yeah, Sarah too. Yeah.
Good.
I'm still waiting to kick off policy again. So I think we're largely waiting on assistant superintendent, right, Kim, to kind of
Yeah,
get back on that.
Yeah, that's nearly wrapped up, and so once we get that person on board, we will rejuvenate that.
Long range has been really good, in my opinion. I think Brick is doing a really good job. And yeah, Battle of the Books was fun. I haven't been going to as many schools as I used to. I go to the high school quite a bit. I'm probably there once every 2 weeks, so I don't see as much KJ. I kind of sneak back and go talk to Lever or Andy and chop it up a bit and watch the kids at lunch. And oh yeah, speaking of which, tomorrow playoff game, right? For Thursday, yeah.
Thursday at 1:30.
So yeah, I can't think. Yeah, it'll be good. I haven't done much. I did appreciate
Me
the
too, over there.
the feedback from you guys tonight, and I did talk to Phil about this. It was like when I've been in those communication meetings and hearing you guys talk about what's going on, I feel that's really valuable information because I don't like to make decisions, and if I don't know how it affects people, so I really appreciate the feedback and you guys willing to share how things are going. So thank you.
Okay, moving on. Action item. Oh, public comment. Do we have any public comment? Anything online, Daniel?
No.
No? Okay. Okay, action items. First one is adoption of superintendent's evaluation and continuation of superintendent's employment. Just a reminder, Kim's on a 3-year contract. This would be going into the 2nd year for contracts, why it's worded continuation. So,
It's not rolling 3-year?
no.
Okay. All right, I move for approval.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to adopt the superintendent's evaluation and continuation of the superintendent's employment. Any discussion? No, I think she's doing a great job and we want to continue. Okay. Okay, I'll call for a vote. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Passed unanimously. Approval of purchase of 2 health curriculums. Do we need names for these curriculums, or is that enough information for a motion, or?
As presented by,
As presented.
Yeah, as
Yeah,
presented.
as
Great
presented.
Okay, that's, yeah. I just wanted to make sure if we wanted names on
Yeah,
there.
there aren't any choices.
Okay. So approval of purchase of 2 health curriculums presented by Elise Hansen.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and second to approve the purchase of 2 health curriculums as presented by Elise Hansen. Any discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed unanimously. Okay, approval of using contingency money to purchase the health curriculum, so that everybody understands that's going to be money that's going to be taken out of our contingency column and it'll be moved into the correct category by Tom with our approval, so that the curriculum, anybody got that right, Tom?
Correct.
Okay.
I'll make that motion as a proposed.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and second to approve the use of contingency money for the purchase of health curriculums. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passed unanimously.
Um,
Any future agenda? Excuse me?
Did I miss 6B?
6B.
License.
No?
Blasphemy.
6B.
That's part of the consent agenda. You're good.
Okay.
That's
It's just,
part of
it's a
the
renewal list.
consent.
Yeah.
Part of
We did not
consent.
have to vote on this. This was
No.
just informational.
You
Okay.
voted, yeah.
We did vote on it.
You
We
voted
did
on
vote
the
on it.
consent
Part of
agenda.
consent.
Okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Kim, I'll have a question for you.
Future, excuse me, future agenda item, any requests?
That we pass
Okay,
it on.
we're adjourned.